That's fine. This is Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. 32 minutes past 7 a.m. It's a Monday morning. It's that time to get into the world of the papers. Take a look at the stories making the headlines, get analysis and your thoughts as well. This is Freshly Pressed. Welcome along to a brand new week. Yours truly, Ayokunmi, taking you into the headlines that are making the rounds here. It is an interactive session as you already know, if you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome along to the ride with us. The WhatsApp number to share your thoughts this morning is 0809 444 0981. 0809 440 981. That is the WhatsApp number. We're also on YouTube. We're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Those are the ways you can join us. Leave a comment there on YouTube. I'll be taking them along with the WhatsApp messages. All right, joining me this morning to break down the stories, give their analysis and perspective as well. I have not one, not two, but three gentlemen joining me. Yes, it's unusual, but sometimes you have to shake things up. Mr. C and Ebi Bozimo are in with me this morning. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Mr. C, and good morning to our mystery guest.
Our mystery guest is it's not so mysterious. Cheta is joining us on the Monday morning as well. Good morning.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Ebi. Good morning, Jackson. Good morning, Lagos.
Right, let's the fireworks actually begin. What is our journey in
The punch. Cheta, I'll be bringing this to your table. Now, the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project that SERAP has called on Senate President Godswill Akpabio to immediately reverse the suspension of Senator Natasha, and they describe it as patently unlawful and a violation of her right to freedom of expression. SERAP weighing in on this one as they usually do these sorts of matters. Cheta, is this something they need to be sticking their fingers into?
of course, it's important to so the cynical part of me would say what therapy. They do a lot, but that is what they exist for. Basically, even if the law is not enforced, and I know that people like Mr. C will take exception to that, but the law is hardly enforced in this country. It's important that at least the record is there that this suit was brought up towards brought to a logical conclusion.
Right.
What the Senate has done is egregious, for want of a better word. It's really, really bad. So you have a situation where Femi Falana, for example, whoever is one of Nigeria's most leaders, has pointed out that in I think 4 cases, Mr. C, correct? Is it four?
Yeah, for
Yeah, 4 cases that this kind of thing has happened. And coincidentally, one of them was also from the senator from this state, the suspension when they went to court. The suspension was displayed. So the National Assembly, knowing fully well that this is where it's going to end up, why are they still doing this? This kind of thing brings a lot of questions about the people in our National Assembly, our lawmakers, whether they understand what they're there. So Kogi Central, which is where Senator Natasha is from, are you telling me that for 6 months they're going to be without representation? How will this affect our constituents? How will it affect the people of our senatorial district? What does that mean? Um, and then it sends out a bad signal, especially now that the story has gone international. International media have picked up on the story. I saw the story on Al Jazeera. I saw it on the AFP. I saw it on the Associated Press.
It's all over the place.
Once the Associated Press picks it up, every newspaper in America will have it. And your government keeps going on roadshows in the US to ask for investors. So the fundamental question that investors will always ask, we're not talking of FPIs now, we're talking of serious investors. The fundamental questions they will always ask is, if your country does not have commitment with you, then what is going to happen here? Remember that this is coming on the heels of the fact that NPR, National Public Radio in America, reported on that whole Binance Tigerian platform. So you are having a double whammy of that coming at the same time, and you are looking for investments. Are you happy? So the third question that comes out to me is, what are the legal options available? Because if we are serious, she should actually sue and get a lot of damages. We're not, and so we not even, and note that in all of this, we've not even gone into the realm of the sexual harassment allegations.
The kettle of fish entirely.
Kettle of fish.
Quick question: who is she suing? Who do you want her to sue?
She should sue the leadership of the Senate. People who just did, because this is a kangaroo suspension. Her side of
I can barely hear Chickster.
So they took the decision, not the leadership alone.
Right,
we need
right.
to understand this is because this is legislative rascality that we're watching here.
Wouldn't be the first time these sort of funny games will be played out in Nigeria. And definitely, I mean, now that the international press is on this matter, I don't know how this is going to play out, but let's see.
We will see our elites begin look for ways to act on it, because the thing that it's so sad. The one thing that our elite seems to respond to is international environment. Any other thing that happens, you are just wasting your time. But once the thing goes international, it starts running around like rats from a sinking ship.
That gives me so many ideas, but I'll keep them to myself. Anyways, let's keep things moving this morning. AB, let us talk about this story coming out of the Punch newspaper once again, and it has to do with the appointees or the executives appointed to the River Basin Development Authorities since last December. 72 of them. Now, they've lamented that they are yet to receive their appointment letters from the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. That's Senator George Akpabio, in line with the directive of President Bola Tinubu. And this comes 3 months after the president officially announced their appointments. Now, so many different things have come out on this one. Now, some people are saying it's a political move, that there are some people who are not happy with these appointments, and the presidency is, going behind the scenes to try to see how they can balance things out. But if that is the case, for how long will we continue on this trajectory of this it doesn't benefit us, benefits us? When are we going to start looking at merits and all that?
Well, we haven't started, obviously, right now. And I can say that this just indicates utter ineptitude in the office of the presidency, and suggests the fact that Mr. President directives are of no moment or meaning to anybody, because I cannot imagine asking somebody to do something at my ordinary level, and the person ignores me for 3 months and there's no consequence. Even if there is a situation where there's some kickback, I can't imagine that all 72 have, objections. And if that's the case, a competent, and I repeat, a competent SGF would be able to filter those that should go and maybe extract those that need to be reviewed. For us to have 3 months, something's announced. The River Basin Development Authorities have nothing going on because they say the current caretakers are quote unquote sitting tight. It just indicates administrative ineptitude on all fronts. The fact of administrative ineptitude is hardly debatable. What is the consequence? The SGF is evidently sitting on the letters. The president may not be aware because he's in and out of the country at the drop of a pin. And now let's talk about what these authorities are supposed to do. They're supposed to enhance all sorts of, whether it's irrigation or water projects in the various river basins that Nigeria is actually blessed with. Go to any of our northern neighbors where you have deserts and think of how blessed Nigeria is. On a good day, these should be, first of all, supporting agriculture, supporting business, supporting everything.
Right.
But those who have been appointed are sitting down. They say they cannot even get access to the SGF. So the question is, this SGF, what substance is he made of? What value is he adding to Nigeria? Or what vacuum is he creating in this situation? At the end of the day, they keep talking about the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President in the agricultural sector. Is Mr. President aware that he himself has a renewed hope agenda? If he's aware, what is he trying to do to ensure that his supposed or alleged agenda can be realized? So,
Okay.
listen, if we are going to be taken serious, we must make sure that competent hands man the various offices. And when people are exposed like this in gross incompetence, there should be a consequence. Otherwise, the person who appointed the person, i.e., Mr. President, is the ultimate purveyor of incompetence in this regard.
Okay, so let me quickly chime in on this. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone because this is the same administration that has been unable to send out diplomats for the past 2 years, and it's still counting. So when you see another recurring episode of just plain incompetence, it shouldn't shock or surprise anyone. So it didn't shock me, it didn't surprise me, and there will still be more episodes.
Our foreign minister gave his best speech by Nigerian diplomats in at least 20 years in Chatham House on Thursday.
What did you say?
That's an excellent speech. It is an excellent speech. So at the very least, he has.
I can't hear Chickster.
Okay.
My apologies. I really
All right, Mr. C, let's jump into the Guardian here. Now, this story says Nigeria spent a staggering 930 billion naira on fuel imports in February 2025, despite increased output from local refineries, raising concerns about the continued reliance on foreign petroleum products. Mr. C, are we ever going to get out of the grips of importation and importation? I mean, we import everything or almost everything, really. And despite the fact that we have a Dangote refinery on stream and we have our own refineries, the Port Harcourt refinery and so on and so forth, are supposed to be on stream producing and putting that in quotes here. 930 billion in February alone.
Okay. Do you recall that Femi Kuti song, Wonder, Wonder, Wonder?
Oh, of course. It's a classic.
So this aptly applies to the situation Nigeria finds itself with regards to its oil industry, petroleum. Now, the Dangote refinery has been on stream for a while, close to a year, if I'm not mistaken, or just over a year. Now, the NNPC did claim towards the end of last year that the old Port Harcourt refinery and the Warri refinery were now on stream. Then, sometime in January, we were told that the Warri refinery was being shut down for routine repairs. This is March. We still haven't gotten any updates on whether it's back on stream. Now, here we are. 930 billion spent on fuel importation in February. An earlier report had come out on this. The NNPCL debunked it and said it was the work of detractors. Now, this is the regulator releasing the information. Now, it begs the question, if the Dangote refinery, according to its own sources, says it's sitting on product worth over 600 billion naira, and which includes 500 million liters of petrol, who exactly is importing this and for what purposes? Pre all of these refineries coming on stream properly, we were told our daily consumption was in the region of 66 to 70 million liters per day. Now we're now hearing it's down to 50, but nobody has really, we haven't had significant number of death, emigration, or the like to justify the significant drop, because that's at least 16 million liters a day dropping. Now, the bigger question is this. For how long are we going to keep up this charade? We have a refinery that is producing, that is even exporting to serious countries outside Nigeria, on the African continent and beyond. And we seem to have a determined policy unwritten to sabotage or derail their efforts. Now, the old Port Harcourt refinery is not producing PMS. They are blending run-straight gasoline. The Warri refinery, nobody knows when that is supposed to start. The Kaduna refinery, we were told, would be ready by the end of last year. Still no word. Now, we keep saying we have a little supply of foreign dollars, and yet we keep on importing. Should we not make it state policy that, look, source all your requests from Dangote or from all the local refineries here? It is only when they cannot meet your total demand.
You can then
That
look
the
outside.
outstanding balance, you then go outside. But for reasons best known to everyone, that is not happening. Now, they imported 701 million liters. I remember during this period, there was this debate as to the quality of the petrol. I don't recall reading a statement from the regulator. I recall reading statements from NNPCL debunking it. Now, the bigger question is, where do we go from here? Cheta said something in the first story. We go on road shows to get investors. Now, they're watching what you are doing to your biggest investor locally. He's taking pains. He's set up a refinery worth $20 billion. He's derailing. He started upsetting the existing supply system. Some refineries have had to start closing down in Europe, and then we're not patronizing him. Countries like Angola, Egypt, Ghana are signing contracts with him. Where do we go from here? What is the midterm plan? What's the long-term plan? Because I bet you every naira I have, come March, they're going to import. Come April, they'll still import. Come May, they'll still import. Now the question is, why are you still importing? And these are questions only the regulator and the companies involved can answer.
Right. Well, Mr. you said, what's the midterm plan? What's the long-term plan? I ask, what is the plan? In totality, midterm, long-term, short-term, what is the plan? You just wonder. JP on WhatsApp says, good morning to you, JP. Merit and governance seem to be parallel lines in our nation. Appointments are meant to be vetted with background. Sadly, it's a function most often of maybe the presidency. Sad. Cheers. And he says, in the deregulated oil sector, we must have a balance of imports and local refineries. It can't and shouldn't be either or so as to drive competition and energy security. Sadly, the regulator is opaque on price discovery and balance. 500 million liters covers 10 days at 50 million a day.
So let me just make the point. We actually need an audit now of what our daily consumption is, because all sorts of figures are being bandied. It should happen. Whether it will happen is a different conversation. But we actually need that audit. Because
I agree with you, because I was going to laugh at you.
Joseph Mane, Silver Estate says, is it not laughable and discussing how Nigeria has become a country of propaganda? Just imagine the same NNPCL that told the whole world that don't worry, refineries are working, yet NBS is saying petroleum imports grew into trillions, even when a private refinery is available to purchase products from, but for corruption, prefer importations. In the same country, heads will certainly roll, but we know how things like this are swept under the carpet. May God bless Nigeria. All right, Cheta, let me come back to your doorstep here really quickly, and we're going to jump into. I know that you were a bit skeptical, but hey, I have to do this either way. Let's head into Port Harcourt, where the Martin Amewule-led Rivers State House of Assembly on Sunday asked Governor Sim Fubara to channel his invitation to the members properly and not through social media. Now, this reaction followed the invitation to the Assembly to a meeting with the governor at the government house on Monday. That's today. So much drama in River State politics.
It indicates that I was very sure that Fubara would defeat Wiki, because this is an extension of the Wiki versus
Can't hear Chickstar.
I said this is an extension of the Wiki. I was very sure that Wiki would beat Fubara. It shows that Wiki played his part, right, by siding and by essentially shunting his party and siding with the federal government. Because you have to understand that in Nigeria's Byzantine political system, it's not about process of personalities. So the weight is in Wiki's sales, and that's what we are saying. But for me, and this is based on my own personal emotion, you always have to ask, what are the reasons? Is it for the good of the state, or is it for the good of personality? I know the answer that I will keep, but hey, and then the how would the governor's decision to await the CTC of the Supreme Court's judgments impact the ongoing power struggle? I think that's a very important thing, because for me, fundamentally, where Fubara
where Fubara monkeyed. Sorry, that was a not very nice expression came to my head. Where Fubara monkeyed in the whole, where he messed up in the whole matter was jumping the gun with the removal of the chairman. That if he had waited, he would have still gotten his way. So patience is a virtue. That's a lesson that Fubara is learning the very, very hard way. But you now have to ask, and this brings me back to the what are the implications of all of this on governance in Rivers State? It's a very, very vital question. Is Rivers State has Rivers State come to a standstill, or are things moving? And unfortunately, I think that there's a very poisonous thing that has been introduced, or no, I think the better expression is enhanced by all of this, which is the whole Ikwere versus Ijo thing. Because a few days ago, I got a message from a friend of mine. I wouldn't say his name. We argue a lot because I always tell him that see, Ikwere people are Igbo people, and he'll be like, "No, we're Ikwere," that kind of stuff. And he sent this very long message, decrying the marginalization of Ikwere people by Ijaw people, and how if not for the fact that that Ikwere people were generous, that kind of stuff. All of the detail is irrelevant. The point is the crisis has now become very ethnic. And the problem with ethnic stuff, it takes a long time to work its way through the system.
Definitely. And it's a dangerous road.
It is a dangerous road. It's so you could get lucky and it will just work its way through the system, and then time will heal the wound. Because time, if it doesn't devolve into violence, eventually time will heal it when another generation grows up. That's the problem with going the ethnic route. It takes at least 30 years for it to get healed if it doesn't devolve into violence. If unfortunately it devolves into violence, that violence will tend to be very brutal. So River State, and remember that River State is one of Nigeria's naturally most violent states. So they've now included this in the mix. I'm really frightened of what could happen there.
Okay, so let me quickly jump on this, right? I have a problem with part of the Supreme Court judgment that was delivered. The issue of whether the 26 are still validly members of the River State House of Assembly is still up for determination before the Federal High Court, Port Harcourt Judicial Division. So I'm disappointed that the Supreme Court made a pronouncement asking them to return, knowing fully well that issue had not been determined. Now, here's the kicker. When that decision comes out, depending on which side gets the judgment, it then throws a new dimension into everything. But at the end of the day, the legislators should stop playing to the gallery. The ordinary residents of River State need governance. Whether you get the invitation through social media or through formally, you are aware of the invitation. Make yourselves available, make your demands known, and let governance get on. Because in May, the third year starts.
True.
And in the first 2 years, what has the River State House of Assembly actually done? Whether it's the major camp or the minor camp, all of this is just plain ridiculous.
Plain ridiculous. And really, at the end of the day, when you think about really bringing everything together, so people of River State that suffer sad situation, really. But then take a couple of messages before I jump into the next story. So, I guess good morning to you, Sean. Great to be back as well. He says, Mr. C is right. Month on month, importation will continue. They follow the templates given to them by the mysterious cabal, as he says in quotes. Trevor from Lagos says, let me ask lawyers, why did the Supreme Court still give judgment on Lagos State budget and validity despite the fact that Fubara had earlier withdrawn the case with respect to the budget from the court, which the lawyers to the other side didn't object? Well, thank you for your message. And Mufasa is excited that Cheta is in the studio, saying that Cheta, actually, you've been missed, and hope to hear more from you. Well, I can't answer that question. Only Cheta can tell us whether we'll be hearing more from him, as it were.
I beg my mother.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, let's jump into the Vanguard. Mr. C and AB, I will need to get both your thoughts on this particular one. And this has to do, this is still the aftermath of the invasion of Ikeja Electric. Now, the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, NAED or ANED, the Professional Association of the 11 electricity distribution companies, the disclosed in the country, said yesterday that the Etnam Air Force Base in Ikeja, Lagos, would not be reconnected to the grid without the settlement of its 4.3 billion naira debt to Ikeja Electric. Now, we already know how this went. The abhorrent attack on Ikeja Electric, and we know what happened and so on and so forth. They have said, we don't care what it is that you want to do. We are not reconnecting you until you pay this particular debt. Is there any possibility that we could see the occurrence of what happened?
So I think we need some sort of background. The chairman of Ikeja Disco was speaking over the weekend. He said, look, this money has been owed for about 7 years. They've been talking for 7 years. And the authorities from the Air Force have seemingly been very non-committal, nonchalant, uninterested in trying to settle this debt, either in part or in full. Now, remember, Ikeja Disco is not a registered charity organization. It is a business set up to make money. Now, it's a hole in its balance sheet because it has to continue making provision for it as if it were a bad debt. Now, the culture of impunity, some unidentified individuals in military uniforms stormed there. We saw all the videos. Now, the sad thing is nobody will be held to account. None of those indisciplined individuals will be identified and properly sanctioned. Now, there are two perspectives, there are two sides to this. From a national security perspective, that base must always have power. However, from the commercial juristic perspective, if you owe, you have to pay. Because every year there's a budget the Air Force gets from the federal government. What exactly do they use that budget for? That base gets money for utilities. What has it been using that money for? Has that money been deployed in part at all to defray some of this debt? Now, the long-term plan, look, if you know this band A conundrum is too expensive for you, why not go the way of renewable energy? Put that base on renewable energy. The cost of implementing it will not be in the same quantum as the outstanding debt. Install your renewable energy, clear off this debt. I know you're off the grid. But where you will continue to consume power and not pay for it, that's a clear act of crass impunity and recklessness and indifference to the rule of law. So right. Yes, they have to pay that money and they have to start paying it. And I support the DISCO. If you don't see the money, you have no obligation to provide light.
All right, Ebi, real quick, let me get your thoughts on this particular one.
Bottom line, the people who did that action should be identified and sanctioned. And even if or when you are moving to renewables, you owe that money. A plan must be put in place. Each year, the defense sector of Nigeria gets the largest budget. What do they do with it? We've heard of stories of billions being lost when soldiers are transporting it on road and all that. Enough of those stories. Pay your debts, at least come up with a payment plan, and then hopefully over time you will extinguish the debt. At that same time, make arrangements for renewable energy or alternate energy sources and end that story. But the idea of go and damage a place, it completely detracts from the high esteem that people like me hold our security services in. It was a disgrace.
Final point, the Air Force must pay for the damages.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Provide a written undertaking never to engage in such behavior again. And part of that undertaking will be identifying the hoodlums who perpetrated those acts.
Among themselves.
Will that happen? Let's wait to find out. Rexy from Twitter says, I agree strongly with Eastwood Association that the Air Force Base should be disconnected until they pay off their debt. The Air Force Base is run by the nonchalant officers who don't care to settle the bills regularly is a problem for the Air Force to deal with. Tony from Marine Beach says it's sad that all of our politics in Nigeria is looking for personal advantages and interests. Imagine what would have happened if a major player in this administration is the owner of the refinery at Lekki. Fuel would have been declared contraband. As for the rivers crisis, I hope this issue gets resolved on the table of the major actors and do not rub it on the faces of all Nigerians. Idimapusa says continued importation of fuel into Nigeria is a scam. Did they tell us that the Port Harcourt and Warri refineries coupled with Dangote refineries products are enough for Nigerians? Mr. President should call Wiki and rebellious lawmakers to order before River State is set on fire and consequently the Nigerian economy. All right, who else is talking to us here? This Tokwe says, who even gave such an order from the base? I mean, your guess is as good as mine. Either someone gave the order or they went rogue. Something must have happened. Fabian from Ekwe says, he's welcoming Cheta back. We need an audit on all our sectors, not just few. Perhaps our leaders will benefit from a hearing, visual, and cognitive assessment, though medical personnel are still leaving. Maybe let's quickly take one more here. It's a Sunday from Surrey says, importation of PMS should now be called fraud. Why will leaders hate their own country this much? Good Lord. Good Lord indeed. All right, we need to call it a morning. Thank you so much for all the thoughts and messages. And thank you so very much, AB, Mr. C, and Cheta for making it quite a combo this morning. Absolute pleasure.
Have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Cheta. Welcome back, Lagos. Let's do this.
All right. Let's have a great start to the Monday. 8:15, we'll get into the world of sports in the locker room. Until then, more great music coming your way. Keep it tuned to the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. So, good morning.